Okay. Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you all again for joining me. I really appreciate you just giving me some of your time and the rest of your fellow cohort members some of your time. I want this to be like super casual and informal. Sorry. Just please feel free to ask any questions along the way. I don't have any sort of like PowerPoint or anything. I just want to kind of give you all the opportunity to introduce yourselves to one another, give yourselves the opportunity to share where you're interning, whether it's started or not. Don't panic. That's okay. It's just the first week. And again, like people fluctuate in terms of start date. And then also just maybe what you're hoping to get out of the fellowship program, so I can make sure that I am trying to deliver that for you. I want to make sure that this is a really good experience for you. And I also want to answer any like particular questions, and we'll review sort of the timeline of assignments so that, I paced it out so that it's not feeling like, in the spring semester when you're potentially studying for your licensing exam and looking for jobs, like, oh, you also have to finish this project. So you kind of do mini assignments throughout the year, so it doesn't feel like a big lift at the end of the year. So with that, I'm just going to call on people to share to break that pressure. So Nemet, you were my first folks here, so I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and just share your internship, where you're interning, and again, what you're hoping for through the fellowship.
Sure. So I'm Nemet. Nice to see you all again. I think the last time we met was like in June or something. So it's really nice to have like a small team. So I am a MAP student. My specialization is in management and policy. I'm interning at the Camden County Senior and Disabled Services here, and I'm starting tomorrow. I believe tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow I'm starting, and then I will know my schedule once I like talk to people and meet everyone there. But yeah, excited to see you guys. As far as what I want to get out of the fellowship program, I think the reason why I got drawn to applying to the certificate and to the fellowship opportunity is I am very much interested in policy work, specifically disability advocacy, but I know my agency covers both seniors and disability. So it's good, and through this project, I feel like I'll be able to contribute and leave something behind. So leave like a legacy, or maybe a legacy. I don't know what my project will be yet, but my plan is to really, this will give me a good platform to do some of the advocacy work that really draws my interest.
Thank you so much, Nemet. We're so excited to hear about how your work progresses and what kind of project ideas you'll have later in the semester. Camden, like I said, Camden County Office on Aging is a wonderful place with really good folks working there. So I know you'll have a good experience. Thank you. So I'm going to invite Tyrell to go next. I'm just going in my squares here.
Hi everyone. I will be interning at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Camden. It's an outpatient cancer center, outpatient cancer hospital. It's a part of Cooper, where I'll be able to assist, patients, with providing them with social, emotional, and other forms of support so that they can be able to, so I can best be able to like meet their needs. I I really have what really draws me to the internship, what really draws me to the certificate program is, I really have a desire and a want to work with older adults. I feel like, working with the older population is a really good thing, and it's very rewarding. I learned a lot from my last internship. So I'm looking to take everything that I've learned there and to apply it at this current one. I'm going in the clinical. I'm going the clinical track. So with that being said, like, I really want to, just better my case management skills and really just help to meet the needs of the patients that I'll be working with.
And Tyrell, what do you think your goal for the fellowship program is? What kind of experience are you hoping to have in this, kind of particular program, the fellowship?
So I'm looking to have a really, I guess just really just, I guess like I want to learn as much as I can with this experience. I think that I want to really just take in, what it is to, kind of get, my hands in, like social work and to understand, working with, those who are in the hospital, understanding what their needs are. I really want to, as far as like, I know that we have to do a project. I really want to, find, an area within like the hospital where we can help our patients and, just try to find ways to like fix it. So I hope to, at some point find some type of like intervention for that issue and then work on fixing it.
Yeah, I understand that. It's a really wonderful opportunity to take after you've worked with some clients and you've gotten your feet wet, so to speak, at your agencies, you then kind of have the opportunity to zoom out and kind of share your recommendations for, as an outside person, a newer person to the team, what might help. And the fresh eyes, so to speak, I think agencies really appreciate. And also, of course, the energy and passion that you all bring. So I'm excited to, learn more about your work. And I think as someone who's worked in cancer hospital before, it's a really rewarding setting in terms of rewarding work in a setting like that because of just the dynamic of the community that you're serving and also the interdisciplinary team members that you'll be working with. So I'm sure you'll have a really great experience and looking forward to hearing what comes next for you. I'll leave Alicia for last because I know she's driving. So Anna, I'm going to invite you to go next.
Yeah. So hi. So I'm interning at Greenwich House in New York. And so it's a big sort of social service agency that does a lot of things, but I'm working in their outpatient mental health division. And so today was my first day.
Oh,
I
great.
have physically been there.
How was it?
It was good. And so, I mean, I do understand in a mental health setting, you kind of need it, but there are actually treatment rooms that you can close the door and I've been in so many social service settings where you just don't have that. Like you're talking about somebody's most personal things of their life, like off in a corner with like a white noise machine while somebody's desk is right next to them.
Yeah.
So there are literal like doors you can close.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So this space has good resources and probably does really meaningful work.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. And so with the fellowship, it's an exciting opportunity to like actually tangibly do a project and actually tangibly learn through doing and just because you can talk about all your theories about how you could improve everything forever, but until you actually sit down and try to do it, you don't know how it'll work in the real world.
Yeah, as I'm hearing you all share, I'm realizing that it's sort of like an opportunity for maybe like some meso social work practice because or macro, you know, depending on how many clients you serve or the size of the agency, but it is an opportunity that many social workers eventually come to in their career, where they're working in an agency or working with a population for a while, and then they recommend a change or recommend something that has a big impact on, for example, a social problem or just the client community that they serve. So the Taub Fellowship really allows you to have that experience a lot sooner. And as Nemet said, sort of leave something behind. I also see it that way, you know, an opportunity to leave something behind for the agency that they will be so appreciative of. I mean, I think of past projects where folks have created trainings and educational opportunities and budget changes. One of our students proposed a tax cut for caregivers in like District 14, I think, in the state. So projects can be as big or small as you'd like them to be. They have to certainly work for you because you're leading the project. And they also have to work for the agency and the community that you serve. And no project is too small, I assure you. And I'm here and your field instructors are here, which I hope that you have shared that you are a fellow with your field instructors. If you haven't already, probably good to share with them that you are. I have shared with agencies, but sometimes things get lost. So never a bad thing to reiterate that this is part of your field work. And I'm sure they'd be so happy to maybe even allow you to create something new or take on something that perhaps they've been working on that they might need some assistance with, which is also really great. So yeah, thanks, Anna. I'm really excited. Greenwich House seems like such a great organization. I know of them from personal practice years ago. So I'm really glad, and they seem so excited to have you. So I'm really happy to hear about your experiences. So now, last but not least, Alicia, if you can, if you want to just unmute and just share where you're interning and what you're hopeful for through the Taub Fellowship.
You hear me?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Hi, guys. My name is Alicia DeGraw. I am recently a clinical social work major. I was MAP for the longest time, and then when I spoke to Dr. L about what I wanted to do, she's just like, everything you just told me is not MAP focused. So I made the difficult decision because I've been in case management for a couple of years now that I wanted to try something that wasn't in my wheelhouse, but then I decided that it was best to stick with what I know. And this fellowship is kind of a redemption tour for me because, as we all know, with COVID, the last few years, it's been really difficult to focus directly on school with everything that is happening. So I'm just really excited to be able to really sink my teeth into a program because even with previous internship and previous classes, it's just you go in with such high hopes, and then because of budget concerns or because of social work being such a touch and go, funding is difficult to get, and things are just difficult to do when you have so much time but not a lot of resources. So as I said, I have been in this field for a few years, and school's been really difficult for me just to kind of focus and figure out what I want to do with my life. So I'm really excited to start in an internship that I'm really passionate about. I'm currently an activity specialist, so I work with seniors, primary dementia focused seniors. So I'm really excited to get the next step of social work. And I actually tried to create a system for my previous internship, but they weren't really too interested because, again, they were just kind of focused on the present and not the future. So I'm really excited to be able to focus on the present and the future of Princeton Community Housing, which is a low and moderate income independent living. It's kind of like subsidized housing, and they don't really have too much activities, too much socializing because of COVID. So I'm excited to see what I can do in that sense. And thank you all for being patient with me as I'm driving.
No problem. Thanks, Alicia. We're so happy to have you. And thank you for
So happy to be here.
thank you for sharing all that you did. And I'm so excited to hear about the work that you'll be doing there. And I know the field instructor is amazing and so excited to work with you. And I just know that you'll be creating a lot of meaningful ways for individuals residing in the buildings to engage in a meaningful way. Because when I think of the work that you do and activities, that's really what it is. It maybe on the surface presents differently, but it really is about meaningful engagement with others. And I'm just excited to hear about that. So thank you all. Great stuff here. And you know me, so I don't have to go through my spiel, but so I will be working with you throughout this semester, fall and spring, on your projects. So you'll be submitting, as I said, bits and pieces to me as we go throughout the year that ultimately will add up to your leadership project. And something logistical that I just want to share now is, if I haven't already, is that the finances that are awarded to you through the Taub Foundation, which supports the fellowship, they deliver in the spring. So please be mindful that, the funds are delivered once you're nearly complete with your project, and they do get delivered to your student account. So if you do have any sort of balance in April of 2023 in your student account, the money that we award students goes to any unpaid balance, which isn't a bad thing, but just so you're aware. And if there's no balance, I think then the accounting office sends you a check, or maybe it's virtual now. My days, I'm dating myself. Maybe it's delivered electronically and no one does checks anymore, probably. But just so you know, the funds don't get awarded to your account until the spring. And that is because, again, the foundation, hopes that students are a little long along the way in their project. And we have had students who have regretfully had to end the fellowship before the spring semester. So any questions about just that logistical piece before I share my screen? Yes. Yes, that's right. Oh, goodness. Thanks, Nemet. Let's do that first. So this time is a time that I situated for us, just kind of randomly thinking like it's the first, Monday before the semester, and it's late enough that hopefully people are around. But I think the best way to do this is I'm just going to send out a poll. And then that way everyone can report, I'll put a bunch of times out. Everyone can report what works for them, and I'll find the overlap. I know some folks have classes, Nemet shared, on Monday evening. So we will not be meeting on Mondays. It says it in our assignment guide. And I know I maybe have said that before, but we will change because Nemet, I don't think you're the only person who has class on Mondays. So thank you for reminding me of that. Anyone else have any scheduling concerns regarding Taub fellowship meetings? No. Okay. I do like to meet as a group, but that doesn't mean that I'm not available in between. I like to meet once a month with the fellows because, just to make sure that we're on track in terms of our projects, but because of holidays and things, it might be less than monthly, but I'll be in touch. And of course, I am available to you if you have any questions or concerns as well in between our group meetings. But sometimes it's nice to get feedback from your peers on your projects or anything else that's happening. So I like to give the space for you all to connect as well. So let's see. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second. I'm on a new computer and I'm totally not that great at it. Okay, here it is. It also seems bright. So sorry if I'm kind of having trouble with the screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, so can everyone share my, see my screen rather? There's a big box, let me get rid of that. Yes?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay, and I'm trying to just move the Zoom box, but it's not letting me. Okay, so I sent this out to everybody and I will send it out again. But basically, of course, congratulations, you've been accepted to the fellowship. The main tasks, as you likely know by now, are you will first begin your work as a fellow by going to your field internship and also just paying attention to any sort of needs or gaps. You can talk it out with your field instructor, you can talk it out with me. There could be something very, very obvious. If that's not so obvious, we can always have conversations and sort of brainstorm together on what you might think could be a project that you would like to consider. Essentially you're going to assess your population, as I mentioned before, and part of the work that you'll be doing is conducting either sort of an informal interview or a survey. Sometimes students have created surveys through something like SurveyMonkey because, for example, it's online, it's kind of accessible to a variety of different, let's say, co-workers at the agency, and it's just sort of something easier to do rather than meeting with people in person, especially in the context of COVID. I wouldn't recommend doing like a SurveyMonkey with clients. That would be sort of more informal, asking them certain questions, kind of anonymously, not identifying them, but just sort of getting a pulse on whatever the issue or concern is. But like I said, some fellows have designed sort of a mini survey using SurveyMonkey and have asked, fellow coworkers at the agency they work with about something relevant to their projects. For example, one of our fellows in the past years has designed a training on older adults because he worked in a substance abuse center and he realized that many of the clients were older and the social workers there didn't necessarily have a lot of training with older adults. So he asked if, in this survey to the staff, what their level of knowledge was and just questions about what they would like to know when it comes to working with older adults in their practice. Any questions about that example? Okay, so that seems clear. Okay, great. You'll also be, of course, developing some sort of final product or intervention to help support the concern or population that you're working with. So like I said, this gentleman in the fellowship asked staff about their experience working with older adults, their training, and then he designed a little training for them based on one of his classes and his own knowledge about working with older adults and delivered this in service to the staff. That was his intervention. And it was then a part of orientation for this agency because they were seeing such a high number of older adults in their rehab facility. So you'll develop some sort of product. It doesn't have to be a training. It can be, an info sort of flyer. It can be one student created changes to the intake forms that their agency was using. Really, it can be any sort of intervention or product or something that serves the agency and the clients. And then part of the fellowship does ask that you do a final report, which again is you're kind of building up to it. So it's really more of a reflection paper, talking about the takeaways in your experiences. I'm also asking fellows to attend at least one event on behalf of the certificate to serve as an ambassador. So part of did we lose somebody? I think we did. Okay, we lost Alicia. That's okay. She's probably coming back in a sec. Part of my work at the Aging and Health Certificate at Rutgers is I also host a variety of different events through the certificate on social work and working with older adults and working in healthcare. And so I really would love for my Taub fellows, my leaders of the certificate program, to attend at least one of these events. So there's going to be 2 in the fall, and then there'll be probably 2 in the spring. And I hope that we can make that work, and you'll know the dates, and they're all virtual. But it would just be great to have, again, one of you to join me for that event and just have that presence. We also have a variety of certificate forums in the fall that educate new students on all the certificates that are available. And so those events are also, you know, an opportunity for you to attend on behalf of the Aging and Health Certificate to represent us and serve as an ambassador. So you'll get all of these dates soon, and I'll, you know, send the emails with opportunities, but it would just be great to have your presence at one of these events this year. Any questions about that? No. Okay, great. Pretty straightforward. My contact information, my cell, in order of, you know, preference. Obviously, you can always reach out to me through email, my office line, which connects to my cell for emergencies only. And then here is our schedule. So as I said, I will be changing the Mondays because I realize folks have class. So our meetings are going to change, but our due dates are not going to change, okay? So we won't be meeting on Mondays in the fall because folks have class, but the due dates of these assignments are going to remain as you see here. Okay, let me just check the chat. Yes, Anna, that you were the other person. Yes, thank you. Yes, so you'll be getting an email from me with a poll to see when is another good time for us to meet in the fall. So please disregard these dates, but these dates, as I'm hovering over here, our assignment dates are going to stay the same. So our first meeting, we're getting done now. We're just talking about the program. We'll have another meeting in October, not on this date. I'll even delete it now. In our second meeting in October, we're going to discuss project ideas. I find that fellows usually at this time have something in mind, and it's great to talk it through with other peers and myself to, you know, make sure that it's something that you can manage throughout the year, because that's very important, and also that it's something that you're passionate about and something that you think will benefit the agency and the clients. So the first assignment is due in November before the holidays, where I'm asking you to draft a project proposal and a sort of timeline about what you're going to do. So I'm going to scroll down to explain what that is. So the project proposal is 2 to 3 pages with at least 3 academic resources identified, and really just follow these questions. Who are you trying to serve? What sort of intervention or product is needed? Why do you feel this is needed? And how will this potential, you know, change or intervention benefit the population? It's sort of like a literature review, but it's obviously very short, and you only need a minimum of 3 resources to cite. Because of course, in social work, right, everything is evidence-based. So, you know, if you'd like to design something, it's great to have some research or some literature that backs up your idea. You'll also be including a potential survey or tool or questions that you might want to ask the target population. Again, like thinking about the student who did the survey, who asked the staff what their experiences working with older adults was, what their training was like, etc. And the timeline. So the timeline, I'm going to scroll way down here, generally can look like this. You know, you can literally cut and copy and just kind of block out where you are in the project development. So of course, you know, in September and October, this will probably be the same for everybody. You're going to be discussing with your field instructor, with me, with your peers here, what you think you might pursue as a project. In November, because the draft and the final are due, you are going to write up your proposal and the details, and of course include the timeline of how you're going to achieve it. And then in November and December, you're going to work on furthering the survey or interview that you want to kind of, again, take the pulse, check in with folks about what you are thinking about doing as a project, either informally with maybe some clients if they're willing. And again, this is not, IRB approved, so it's informal, no identification of everyone, just again, what we call in the field a pulse, asking a few questions of folks, or something a little bit more formal with the staff. Usually in November, December, these are suggested. Obviously, this might change given your work and schedule. And then, usually folks in January, February review what they found out and then kind of implement whatever the intervention is, around February, March, because April is when you end your field placement, the third week of April. So by that time, of course, we ask that you are sort of done with your leadership project and you're kind of writing your reflection on that. Let me pause here and stop sharing my screen and invite for any questions. Any questions? Or was that kind of clear? Good? Okay. So let me go back to share my screen. One sec. Okay. So like I said, I'm just going to go right back up to the timeline here, sort of the due dates. So by November 14th or sooner, you should have your leadership project proposal, which will include 2 to 3 pages of discussion of what you want to do with 3 literature, pieces of literature to support it. Also sort of the timeline and an idea of what your survey or tool is. Final approval will be given, by November 28th, before sort of the month of December when finals happen and things. So that is, when I will approve your projects. Because I asked students for a draft, no one has any trouble getting through for their final approval. And then really from November to March, you're just working on making it happen, whatever that looks like with your project and your agency. We will meet after, our time in October. I don't have a meeting on the calendar for November, but we can. It's totally up to you and your needs. We'll meet back again in January once you've sort of started implementing your project or almost started implementing your project. And then I asked for a draft of your final report and presentation because you are going to be doing a presentation to your agency about the work that you've done. I asked for that in April, and then everything should wrap up, by the last week of field. So I'm just scrolling down here in terms of the final report. It's really just a combination of your project proposal and a few more pages just asking you these questions to reflect on what did you learn? How did the focus population respond? Any challenges? And again, just a reflection, no literature, just your experiences. You are also going to be reporting your findings through a PowerPoint. I suggest doing a PowerPoint, but you don't have to if you're not comfortable with that. And then you'll share that with me as well. And so that is it. So as you can see, you really are building, so nothing is due all at once. And if you have any questions or concerns as you're developing your project proposal, or if you're, worst case scenario, you're interning the first month, you see nothing happening, you don't know where to go with a project, we'll meet in October after you've had sort of a month of field, and we can talk about that together as a group. And yeah, and then you sort of have from November to March to get things moving in terms of taking that pulse, creating a response to the need, and reflecting on it. So I'm going to stop and just ask if there's any questions or concerns or anything coming up for anybody. I'm gonna.
Well,
Oh.
sorry, so this isn't a burning, I was just curious, when people implement a survey or like their questions, does their project ever change dramatically from the answers?
Yes, that has happened. I've, had students, of course, who have, for example, I'll give an example of a fellow from this past year, this past cohort. So this wonderful fellow, very interested in cultural humility in hospice. Very much into thanatology, death and dying, very much at her hospice agency wanted to explore how this agency was responding to diverse populations and rituals and needs that they might have. Upon several months, things were going great. The proposal was great, but several months into her internship, she really recognized how burnt out the staff were. The staff were, and this was like the fall, right? So COVID was still pretty bad. I think that, right, we had like the new variant. Things were still a little worse than they are now, arguably. So it felt, and it was a small hospice agency, and it felt to this person, this student, that it wasn't necessarily as useful right now to consider ways to increase cultural humility amongst the staff. What really benefited them in real time was teaching them a way, workers that were in the hospice agency, teaching them a way to chart virtually, because they were working so much around the clock that their documentation was. So in any case, long story short, this student's passion changed, and not that this original project was any less more important than changing her direction, but she felt as though there was a more immediate need to help the actual clients who were feeling a little unsupported because of the time that documentation took, because a lot of the staff were not trained on how to virtually document, and et cetera, et cetera. So long story short, as I said, project totally pivoted, but it worked out really well. And she actually got hired at the agency. So it's a really good ending to the story. So she can continue on with her original idea, which is very, very important. But of course, when you take the temperature of your agency, this is also something to consider. We might have really good ideas about a project, about something that we're seeing, but that's why I always encourage you to check in and sort of informally interview your field instructor, your fellow interns, colleagues, because there might also be another need that's a little bit more urgent that also impacts the clients that you're working with. And it worked out fine. You don't lose anything from needing to change your project for that reason or any other reason. The best thing you can do is just let me know so I can talk you through it, make sure that you're still meeting the goals and the requirements of the fellowship, and also doing something really meaningful to the agency. So hopefully that answers your question, Anna. Good. Okay, good. Yeah, that's happened before, and it's no reason to panic, because, to give an example with working with clients, we could be, going one way with the client and then totally turn direction, go another way with them. So it's okay. Just please keep in touch about any changes that happen at your field internship. Is there any other questions that anyone might have? And also, does everyone have a copy of this guide? Do you have a copy? I will send it again with the recording from this evening. Okay, because I did send it out, I think at some point in the month of August, but I'll resend it. And you'll all be soon getting an invite from Canvas to join the Aging and Health Field Canvas site. So because you're a certificate student, you will be in a Canvas site for field only with Aging and Health certificate students. And I'm going to put the writing guide there too. And I'm going to put 4 fellows, and that's what you'll also have in case, we lose it. Okay, well, anything else that anyone has a question on, or any thoughts or feelings or anything? happening? Okay. All right. Well, we've got like 15 minutes or so to spare, so I just want to be mindful of the time and thank you all for joining me. I'm sorry that we were missing 2 other students. So hopefully we'll have the chance to meet back all together, all 6 of us, well, 7 including me, in October. And you'll see an email this week. Tomorrow we do have new student orientation, so I'll be sort of in and out of email all day tomorrow, but I'll be sending all the follow-ups by the end of the week. And I hope everyone has a really good last few days of summer. And please continue to stay in touch with me. And yeah, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yes,
Tyrell. Thanks,
thanks.
Anna. Have a great night, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.